Does anyone really care?
It doesn't matter. It's someday in October and it's 2020 and we're gonna go and do this alignment on the Subi. Motoring today. You guys remember Mr. Wadwani here? He's been a part of a lot of our install videos, and this is where he does his thing.
Yeah, let's take a look. I like to just go through what I have to work with. There we are. Okay, so you have some upper camber plates. That's nice. Why? Since we're on a flat surface right now, where do you want it to be? Because I know you want to do a mixture of track and...
half of this distance. The whole reason I'm here doing the alignment today is because 2 of the tires are shot.
So we're gonna do some quick measurements. Right now we're at 25 and a half. Oh, I see you. Sir?
Yeah.
You are right down to the bare minimum.
Oh, trust me, I know.
Okay, good. In regards to your camber adjustment, you actually don't have any because you would have to replace this lower arm with one. But I'm gonna try and see if I can at least get it to the right height.
It is legit.
Okay, we're gonna take the wheel off gently. So in the front, a lot of the times, just give you a quick little heads up, when you're in on the driver's seat and you are driving the car a lot, this one side in specific will like to be a little lower when you're in the car. That's fine. But you want to set this up while you can. So right now we're about, say, 3 1/4 in between the top and the bottom ring. We're gonna make sure it's about that on the opposite side, and then now everything will become square. There is on these teens 2 sets of rings. So this will adjust the spring rate, meaning the amount of tension that you're putting on the spring. So that'll affect your corner balance. And the bottom ring that you see me loosening here, that's where you want to adjust your ride height. And the only reason why is you're not messing around or tampering with the spring rate, so the car feels where it needs to be.
But is there any acceptable negative or positive toe?
Yeah, what you want the car to do is be very stable in certain directions and certain corners and speeds, and then you want it to be more nimble in others. So this is why I'm going to ask you an array of questions like, are you streeting the car? Are you tracking the car? Is it short track, long track, big track, auto X? So what I like to do, especially on cars that you're going to see some track use, on top of that's your daily driver, I will always make a line in your coil or in your sleeve here as well, just to make sure that over time nothing's not moving in a direction that you don't want it. So same situation on this side, we gonna loosen it up, bring it down. I know we're trying to go for that 1 finger gap situation, so let's do that. Just to give you a quick insider scoop, finger measurement is actually a real measurement. Google it. A lot of things that we do are finger measurement for height. If you do drop it by 1/2 inch here, in theory you would think that it would drop it entirely. Sometimes it drops it a little bit more. Let's put these bad boys back on, see where the car sits, and then we will do the back and forth. So this fancy torque wrench is digital, right? Now what's cool is when you turn it on, it makes a beep noise. All right, and now we're gonna set it down to about 95-ish. What do you usually torque the ball-ended ones down to? Do you remember what you usually torque them down to?
Oh, sorry. 90?
Yeah, okay. Okay, so what's nice, it has a counter there, so let's put it down to 90. Has a counter on the top, so if you ever lose track of your wheels and how many times you torqued it, it'll tell you. Rev limiter, hit that 90, get that green.
Why does torque matter?
So torque is something that you want to make sure is good. Why? Mainly because it affects your brake rotors. So your brake rotors, the rim actually pushes it up against the hub, and it kind of sandwiches it in between. So by equally torquing this, it keeps your brake rotor happy. Mainly what it is for everybody is safety. So you don't want that tire to hit somebody, you don't want that tire to come off and then you be in danger. So now we're going to do the alignment. Well, we're going to start it up just as we go. Hit the beginning button. This is a Hunter Hawkeye Elite alignment rack. Open the door. Bro, it's like groceries. Check it out.
What?
Formation time. Your tires act as balloons. Okay, so if you have one balloon that's bigger, one balloon that's smaller, aka the tire pressure off, it'll actually throw your alignment off. So let's say, for instance, you feel you didn't hit a pothole, but you feel as if the car is drifting to the right all of a sudden. Best thing to do, first thing, check your tire pressure. If your tire pressures are off to the right, guess what it's gonna do? Smaller balloons, it's gonna pull to the right. You always start with the most basic scenario, and that would be tire pressures. These are automatic tire inflators. You can see right above here. So since winter's coming and tires are a little bit odd, I'm gonna set them to about 34 PSI. As it inflates it, it tells you you're good. We can start taking them back off, and then we'll put on the measuring device. So this measuring device, I'll show you guys while it's filling up, has dots and lines and squares. But all it does is it gets mounted to the wheel. You'll see it in just a second. And the lights, or lasers, will actually reflect off of these surfaces here and tell the computer exactly where your wheel sits. Think of 360 degrees, okay? When you're off by 1 degree, your steering wheel is going to be off quite a bit, but this does point of that as well, so down to the hundredths of a degree. So, by the books, okay? If you get new tires, they always say, do your alignment. Now, winter tires, does it matter? No. Get your summer tires put on, do your alignment. It's good for 2 years. Naturally, a car over time will sag, drop, or the springs will settle over time. And in that 2-year span, that's when you want to do your alignment. And why? Keeps your tires good. If you hit potholes, because we do have potholes here in the GTA that are pretty bad, they're almost craters, it will throw that alignment off. You could tell, because I always say the driver knows the car the best. One day you're driving like this, the next day you're driving like this, guess what? You're gonna know more than I would if the alignment was off, right? Okay, so these are cool. They grab onto the tire itself and you lock it down. It has a rubber base, so it won't damage the rim or face of the rim, which is kind of cool. And there's 4 of them, 1 for each corner of the car. All right, so let's do the other side. So we modified this alignment machine, or the measuring devices, so that way it is better for our lowered cars. So a lot of the times you would set it up where the arms are straight. We actually set it up where the arms are fully extended upwards. What that does is, once we roll the car forward, it gives you all the clearance for lowered cars. It's gonna make some noises and it's gonna tell the computer, hey, we see all the wheels, that's good. Now we're gonna roll forward, you ready? So we're gonna roll forward. You'll watch the heads go to a vertical kind of stand. And then we go ahead and put our chocks down. Then we're gonna measure caster. Caster is really interesting. I will always use the grocery cart analogy. Clutch down, hold on to the brake. And go ahead and hang it to the left. The machine tells you you're good. Hang it to the right. The machine says you're good. Hang it to the middle. And we'll lock it down. Sir, I can see why your alignment was eating up the front tires.
Oh my God.
These are very exaggerated numbers on the screen, so don't worry too much. But basically your front tires are pointed outwards.
Yep.
So what we're gonna do is straighten them back out. And also if you look at your camber numbers, they're identically perfect. So 2.6 degrees is actually pretty good. Everyday situation, 2.6 is a little bit high.
What would you put it to?
I'd actually put it around, let's say 2 degrees-ish. Like from factory, they probably want a little less. Yeah, 1.3. But because the car's lower, you're not gonna really get that. But because the rear is fixed at 2.4 degrees, you kind of want to be around the same so the car feels like relatively
Neutral in the corner?
Yeah, basically. And on top of that, your rights, your lefts will be very kind of planted in its own way, right? So whenever you're doing an alignment, you always start with the rear of the car, because that will basically tell you or give you your thrust angle. What your thrust angle is if you think of your body running straight, if you move yourself to the right or to the left slightly, that's where you're going to dictate where those front wheels need to be. So you always want to have that thrust angle closer to 0, so the car will be pushing straight. So this arm here is directly correlated to the camber of the vehicle, meaning it's going to push the bottom of the tire out or pull the bottom of the tire in. That will basically get the tire to sit like this or like that. Right, so yeah, so this arm is directly correlated with your camber adjustment, but this little guy here, this is your toe adjustment. So the toe is, if you look at your tire, camber, you have your up, down, okay? Toe, we're gonna switch that wrench up like flat, but it's where you want the tire or direction of the tire to actually sit. So where it'll be, you want a little bit of toe in, so you have toe kind of just in a little. The reason why, it gives you some stability when you're driving. Plus on top of that too, if it's 0 or very close to 0, it'll be so like neutral in the back that if you're making a pretty like quick left-hander, it might just come sliding out at you. So you can see here, it's
pulling the toe in.
Correct. Now this machine is very accurate to the point where it's super accurate, but we're gonna basically get your numbers pretty happy. So what we're gonna do is match numbers. Right now I got 12 and 13-ish. So I like to get it 12 and 12 if I can. As you can tell, camber's moved around a little bit. There's nothing we can do because that is locked down at the moment. It's there's no adjustment for it, but 10 and 10, I'm okay with that. Now, the fronts are a bit different. The fronts have something called a tie rod. So the tie rod is made up of 3 parts: an outer, an inner, and the jam nut. What we're gonna do is basically crack that jam nut with some brute force, and that will allow us to use the inner tie rod to adjust. And then you can watch the screen numbers change. Okay, so what you do is basically just take the jam nut, loosen her off. Magic with television, that was nice and loose. And then you turn that tie rod in. In this case, it's in because it was negative.
Right.
Now you can see that number. It's gonna go
Back in the green.
into the green. There you go. Small amount of toe in the front for you. Again, high speed stability, you'll have it, and then on top of that, it's not gonna kill the car off and make it feel fairly numb.
Is there such a thing as, I guess, a poor man's alignment? Because I've heard of like people using string.
Yeah, so that's called an eye alignment, where you're using your eyes.
Oh, eye alignment.
Yeah, so it's an alignment, but if you hear it wrong, it could be eye alignment. Whenever you're doing your tie rod adjustment, this has a lot of movement. Always set it back to its neutral position, which is straight down, okay? It's not like it's gonna do anything bad to the car. It's just a good practice. So I'm off by 0.01, but yeah, you should be fine. You won't even feel it, you're okay. Yeah, that's basically it for your alignment. Now you can even tell as well, the camber number changed just slightly. If you remember, that was 2.6, that was also 2.6. Right. Because the toe was so far out, when you brought it in, it actually kind of changed the angle of the top of the tire. So right now you're okay. We'll go ahead, press print. And it's good to keep in your records, so just toss it in your glove box and be like, okay, if you like the way the car handled, the next time you come around and we need to do an alignment or whatever, we can be like, okay, this is what you had last time. Do you like the way the car feels? Do you like it where the car is rotating enough, not enough? We can adjust it here by just quickly be like, okay. Bring it down. We're gonna take all the, like the bars and stuff out that we had in the front. And then for good measure, I'm just gonna tighten up the bolts on the upper pillow ball mount. Just because we're here, we'll put the little marks on it just to make sure nothing's moving for you. It's just good practice, right? So it's a 5 millimeter Allen. Hey, Allen. We'll just tighten it down. So just snug it down a little bit. Let's go ahead and mark them down. What I do is I put all the marks on the inner edges. All the bolt heads are pointing to each other, then you know you're okay. All right. So it's a slightly obvious, but not so obvious in your face, kind of just method to make sure nothing gets loosened up and moving on you. All right, let's go for a road test. Make sure